other news, an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.0 on the Richter scale has struck eastern Turkey. Turkey's earthquake observatory says its epicenter was under the town of Karakajan in Elazığ province. More than 40 people have been killed and scores more injured. Rescue workers are struggling to pull out people trapped under debris. Locals rushed into the streets when the quake hit. Many have stayed outside as the region has been hit by several aftershocks. Turkey is crisscrossed with fault lines and is frequently hit by earthquakes. In 1999, two strong quakes killed nearly 20,000 people in the country.
Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Kay at the CNN Center in Atlanta. This just into CNN. A 6.5 magnitude quake has struck off the coast of Northern California. The USGS says it was about 25 miles from the city of Eureka. So far, there have been no reports of serious damage or any reports of injuries. Now, a resident of Ferndale, California, describes it as a, quote, rolling event. She says it rolled and then it slammed, knocking pictures off the wall. I can give you a little more information. The 6.5 magnitude earthquake struck off the Northern California coast. That's about 27 miles or so from Eureka. CNN is learning that the quake hit around 4:27 p.m. That's California time. So that would be 7:27 on the East Coast here. No reports of any tsunami or anything like that as a result of this, but we want to talk to someone who actually just went through this. His name is Cole Machado. He's a resident of Eureka, about 10 or 15 minutes or so away from Ferndale. And Cole, good to have you with us. Glad you're safe and sound. Can you tell me what happened during this quake?
Yeah, Randy, I was actually watching CNN when it happened. I was talking on my cell phone, and all of a sudden the house started shaking, and I was worried about my television. I didn't want it to fall over, and I went to go catch it in case it was going to fall, but it was just it really brought back a lot of memories from an earthquake we had that was about 7.0 back in 1990.
And Cole, you took these pictures that we're looking at on CNN right now?
Yes. One of them is of a crack in my ceiling, and then the other one, I think, is of some figurines that fell over.
So what is the situation? Is this your apartment or your home or?
Yeah, this is my house. It was really scary, and the electricity went out for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden, my neighbors started coming out into the street, making sure that everyone was okay.
How long did it last? How long did you feel the shake?
It probably lasted for less than 30 seconds, I would think.
And had you ever been through anything like this before?
Yeah, but, it was back in 1990. There was a similar magnitude shake, earthquake that happened. But I was 5 years old then. But I really do remember that, even it was so long ago.
And so what's going on in your neighborhood right now? Is there chaos, or does it seem under control, or are people concerned? And anybody that you've seen who has suffered any injuries?
I haven't talked or seen anyone that has any injuries. Some people have reported to me property damage down in Ferndale, where the earthquake was really close to. A lot of windows in the stores on Main Street shattered. That's one of the things I had heard.
And your power's back on now?
Yeah, the power only went out for 2 or 3 seconds, and then as soon as the power and internet came back on, I went online to see what the magnitude was, and then I went on Twitter and started tweeting about it, and a lot of other people were tweeting about it. And
amazing that you were calm enough to take those pictures, and we certainly thank you for sharing those with us. Stay with us, Cole, if you can. We just want to check in with Jackie Jarris here in the Weather Center to see what she's learned. Jackie.
Yeah, Randy, as you said, a 6.5 magnitude earthquake has occurred. That's been revised from earlier reports that we brought to you at the end of our last newscast of 6.1. I want to show you the area that we're talking about on Google Earth. And 6.5 is what we would consider a strong earthquake on the magnitude scale. So it can be destructive, maybe up to 100 miles from where this occurred. And so this big red dot that you see there in the center, that was the initial quake. And then all these little red dots you see around it, we've had several aftershocks. There you can see one 3.8, 3.7, and a little bit lesser than that. So aftershocks is going to be something that we'll be watching as well. So a strong earthquake, you generally don't see serious damage, but you can see significant damage, and we're starting to get word of that. So we'll continue to watch the situation and let you know as things continue to unfold. So this was offshore. You know, sometimes earthquakes can cause tsunamis. The strength of this one, probably not strong enough to do that. There are no tsunami watches or warnings which have been issued at this time either.
And Jackie, from what I understand, this was felt all the way up in San Francisco, so it does travel, as you said.
Absolutely, it does. And, you know, this is an area where we have a fault line. If you looked at that map, you could see dozens and dozens of dots all over the place. So it is an active area, and we've been seeing minor ones as of late. But this is the strongest one we've seen in this area in quite some time. In fact, as a matter of fact, you'll usually see between about 100 to maybe 125 earthquakes this strong across the world.
All right. Jackie, we'll continue to stay on top of this, as I know you.
In Haiti, so we've got a few hours now before daybreak, and then we're expecting to see the full scale of the damage and devastation that this powerful earthquake has wrought on the island. We have reports that there were fatalities. We don't have an exact number as yet, but there are reports of fatalities. Earlier, there were no confirmations of that, but certainly now indications that people have died as a result of this earthquake. And that site there of those buildings crumbling and some completely destroyed, repeated over and over again. And while speaking to one witness saying that a lot of people just helping themselves, you can certainly see that gentleman there being carried out onto the street by other residents. But we did see earlier presence of some UN soldiers with those familiar blue caps. There they are on the streets, because there had been some concern that there hadn't been very much presence of government soldiers or organisations as yet, but shots there of some UN soldiers on the streets, obviously trying to help some of those people. And you can see there the streets just full of residents that have been affected by this earthquake. They're refusing to go back in. The aftershocks keep coming. It certainly isn't safe. And that man there being dragged out of the rubble under there. Port-au-Prince was the worst affected area. The epicenter itself of the earthquake was around 10 miles from the city centre. Pétionville, which is located at slightly higher ground, did have some damage, but it's been reported not as wide scale and not as devastating as Port-au-Prince itself. And the geography of the region causing terrible problems as well. Lots of hillsides and ravines with lots of buildings and construction built up on these hillsides, and there have been reports of buildings just sliding into these deep ravines, and obviously the hope of recovering people there highly doubtful. So that picture there you can see is of the building. You can see the roof completely collapsed, and people have been saying that the buildings have continued to crumble. Things haven't stopped, things aren't calm yet, and the UN also confirming that their building, their headquarters, has suffered significant damage as a result of this earthquake. Their building was located in the capital, Port-au-Prince itself, and a spokesman in a statement issued in New York saying that the United Nations can confirm that the headquarters of the United Nations Stabilization Mission in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, has sustained serious damage along with other UN installations. And going on to add, a large number of personnel remain unaccounted for. And it's probably good to remember that a large number of aid agencies.
Good evening to our viewers in the West, where just hours ago there was the strong jolt of an earthquake. It was a magnitude 7.2 tremor centered in Mexico's Baja California Peninsula, about 100 miles southeast of San Diego, and felt in Southern California and Arizona. NBC's Mara Schiavo-Campo is monitoring the situation live from our Los Angeles bureau. Good evening, Mara.
Well, good evening, Natalie. As you mentioned, the earthquake was a few hours ago. It hit at 3:40 p.m. Pacific time. The USGS is reporting that it was about 20 miles in depth. Now, that's relatively shallow for an earthquake, but despite that shallow depth and the proximity to the coastline, there were no tsunami warnings at any point in time. Now, turning now to reports of injuries and damage, there have been no reports of injuries or major structural damage in California. We also spoke to someone in Mexicali who said that there was no damage to the building he was in and that he also had power. However, in El Centro, California, which is about 25 miles from the epicenter, the fire department there is reporting that there is widespread power outages. In fact, they're saying that most of the city is without power, and the fire department itself is running on emergency power. They say that they're responding to reports of gas leaks and some structural damage throughout the city. Now, we did feel the tremor here. It lasted a few seconds, and it was of the swaying variety, what people here tend to call a rolling earthquake as opposed to the jolting kind, and it was felt as far away as Arizona.
Mara Schiavo-Campo in Los Angeles monitoring the situation there for us. Thank you, Mara.